Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast, where we celebrate courage, determination, and the power of saying, why not today? I'm your host, Leslie Kane, and in each episode, we dive into inspiring stories of individuals who have taken bold steps, faced their fears, and embraced the possibility of today. From entrepreneurs to artists, dreamers to doers, we explore the moments when they said, enough waiting, why not today? Join me as we uncover the heartwarming, the audacious, and the transformative. Whether it's pursuing a lifelong passion, overcoming obstacles, or simply choosing joy, our guests share their journeys and inspire us all. I started this podcast in honor of my father, Patrick Kane, who often said, why not today? And remember, you're just one decision away from changing your life. And I am excited to find out more about my guest. I don't know her really well. We did a call the other day, but I felt like after our call, the introduction call, I feel like I've known you forever. And we were connected with lots of different people on Facebook and things, but I officially met Elaine or saw you speak at Tina Johnson's Women's Summit
Yes.
about a month ago.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, we did a call and we've got lots of great connections. And I felt like you were my long lost friend when we talked the other day. And so I'm excited to hear your story and share with our guests. You've definitely got a health journey and lots of courage. So before we officially get started with that, why don't you introduce yourself, Elaine, and a fun fact about you?
Okay. Well, hi, Leslie. Thank you so much. I felt the same way. And what was such fun is that our connections were like, they were all in left field.
Yeah.
And, and it was great. And I love this whole thing and your connection with your dad. And I have that special thing with mine, which is why I have 14 butterfly bushes around my house. Because I believe
Aw,
every time I see a butterfly, it's my father or my mother.
I've
So
always thought that too, just another connection.
I'm not surprised.
And a good friend of mine passed away last year, unfortunately. And the day of his funeral, we were sitting outside his mom's house, and a butterfly flew on his cousin's hand and just sat there. And then it flew on my hand, and I took a picture of it. Literally sat on my hand for a half an hour until I shooed it away.
Yes,
I'm like,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, I see them in these strangest places. And
yeah.
I go, hi, Dad. Hi, Mom. Thanks for coming.
I love that. Another connection. All right.
Another
So
connection.
introduce yourself and a little about who Elaine is.
Okay, well, I am Elaine Gibson, and I am the ultimate Jewish grandmother from New York City. Born in Chicago, raised in New York. But so I was the child my mother was told she could never have.
Oh, wow.
In those days, I mean, just in full disclosure, on Mother's Day weekend, next will be 80 years old. And in those days, so my mom had rheumatic fever. And in those days, which was like a gazillion years ago, they were very concerned about the heart and all this and that. So she was told she couldn't have any more children. So my dad, who was in the retail business, because during the Depression, he took his father out of a ditch who was trying to get money to send him to medical school.
Oh, wow.
It was all. So he was transferred to Chicago from New York, and my mom goes in for her checkup, and the doctor says, well, Jeanette, why come you don't have any more children? And she said, well, I was told I couldn't. And he said, that's ridiculous. You're healthy. Your heart is healthy as an ox. Go home and make a little girl.
Aw.
So 11 months later, on Mother's Day, I was born.
Oh, how special.
Isn't that fun? Yes, that's not the fun fact. That's just part of who I am, right? For whatever that means. So here's a fun fact. So when I grew up in New York, I was fortunate and blessed enough that my parents could take me to Broadway at a very early age. I actually saw Sammy Davis Jr. on Broadway.
Oh,
I saw
wow.
Mary Martin play Peter Pan, originate the role. So I just fell in love with it. So my fun fact is that with all the science and all those other things I have with what I do, I actually have a graduate degree in dance.
Wow.
Yes. And I see the world through music. Yes. And everything I do is filled with music and musical references and all that. So that's my fun fact. I actually
I love
have
that.
a graduate degree in dance, and my most fun role was in a dinner theater in Gypsy, playing one of the strippers who lit up in the dark. Yeah.
How fun.
So yeah, But I'm a city girl and I went to summer camp from the age of 8. We did that in New York if we were fortunate enough. So I went away for 8 weeks. And um now my children have gone and my grandchildren, everybody's on the same thing. I'm all about legacy and all of that.
Awesome.
So, but Leslie, this is where I fell in love with my girlfriends. It was a brother and sister camp.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I was happiest my whole life. And this is why everything that I do now is for and with women. So yeah, I had a great childhood, very, very much love, but very, very different times. So I
Yeah.
never was encouraged to be my best
Right.
because women weren't doing this
No.
pre-Gloria Steinem we're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Long
So
time.
yeah. So I grew up in New York and went to summer camp and then met my first husband, my children's father. And then we came to Washington, D.C. during the Ed Muskie campaign. And now I'm remarried and live in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley, remarried for almost 34 years now. I have 6 grandchildren and
Wow.
they still call me Gaga. Even my 6'2" grandson who's 26, still calls me Gaga.
That connection of grandparents is amazing.
Oh,
I know one time my nephew, I said something not really nice to my mother. I don't remember what it was, but she annoyed me. And my nephew looked at me and goes, "Don't talk to my grandma like that." And I'm like, "You're on team grandma." He's like, "That is the only team to be on."
the only team. Yeah,
Yes, so
yeah,
powerful. So, yeah, I love the summer camp. I didn't get to go to summer camp.
yeah, me
I
too.
was the oldest of 6 kids, and from the age of 10, we lived on a lake and grew up in Reston. There were pools everywhere.
Oh, sure, right.
So, like, there was no summer camp. We were summer camp.
You were, yeah.
And we
But
did all the fun things.
growing up in New York, I mean, I never saw trees and stuff,
Right.
So now I'm in now, I
Opposite
live
world.
here. Yeah, and I'm in the Shenandoah Valley. I feel like I'm at summer camp
Love it.
all day long.
So, Elaine, what does courage mean to you?
Courage to me means trusting your soul.
Love that
And
definition.
we are so bombarded with other things. We all have monkey mind.
Mhm.
Our mind always tells us stories and creates so much doubt, but we know inside what's right. We know inside who we are. And as you know, I work with women that have cancer, having beaten stage 4 cancer without traditional protocols. This is what I do. But it's trusting how we're created because we really know inside us who we are and what we want to do. And trusting that is the seed of courage.
Yeah. And I kind of call those sometimes my why not today moments with people. It's like
Mhm.
when you know the thing and you wake up in the middle of the night, or it's just been ruminating in your head and you finally say yes and you trust your soul, because there is so much noise out there and so much
Yeah.
comparison, so much judgment, so much doubt. And, as women too, we do have that doubt that we just came naturally and we've had to fight to be more confident. But to be able to trust ourselves and not look left or right or back or forward, just to go for it and trust that soul. So I love that
Yeah.
definition.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So everybody's got a different one. It's interesting. The only person that's ever looked it up is my brother. All right. So you've had a journey and lots of
Oh, yeah.
courage. And I always say we don't, where we start and where we finish are completely different. So
Oh,
as
God.
a dancer to now working in the health field, you've come a long way. So can you share maybe some why not today moments, part of your courage journey, that would encourage somebody else and share your story?
Sure. So look, so in 2001, I was diagnosed with a very early stage cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I went out of the country. They didn't do the things I wanted at that point. I just knew that at that moment, why not today, trusting that I just wasn't ready to follow traditional I had been in, I spent a lot of, growing up when I grew up, the only thing that I really was led to, and this is not judgment, this is to have a teacher certificate in my back pocket,
Okay.
and I
So
did
were
that.
you a teacher?
I was,
Okay.
I was actually in New Haven, Connecticut during the riots in the 60s, and they built a brand new high school in the middle of the city, and they bussed in all the suburban kids,
Wow.
right? Yeah.
So
And
you started with a degree in
in
dance.
I had started with a degree in education in phys
Okay.
ed. I grew up on third base. I was in phys ed. I was like,
Okay.
it was a great way to get to kids.
Right.
And but using that, so we did West Side Story, and we had a Black Maria and a White Tony, and things like that. And but I just never really had anything that I was passionate about. That was in a line, in a lane, in a journey to be successful in this culture.
Right.
Yeah, all we both know Tina very well. She's been a mentor of mine for quite a long time, and she's um she sponsored everything that we do as well. And when all those archetype things like strength finders or all of these things, I am way outside the line. I mean, I'm so far outside the line that it's almost not even digitized.
Wow. And I'm usually right in between the lines.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
right.
strong on everything, but a little of a
So
lot.
I am the extreme creative, which makes it challenging to get things done and that
Right.
but I never really had a path that, my children have great careers, my grandchildren have great, but I never really was taught to be my best, find my best. But
Right.
there was always something inside me,
We
right?
know it's there.
Yes, and it was always there. It was knocking at the door, and it was like there was just always something more. So I had my health um moment, defining moment, right?
Why not today,
And
Mama?
yeah, so one time, so I in 6 months I was cancer free. Great, awesome. 18 months after being cancer free for 5 years, I come back from the Galapagos Islands. And I have some things because as a dancer and an athlete, I'm very, very, very tuned into my body, right?
Right.
Right. And it was like, so I thought I had a parasite, right? What else would it be? So 2.5 months later, I found myself in front of a woman who said, "We don't think you're going to see your grandchildren grow up." And it's like, have you ever met a Jewish grandmother from New York? I mean, I don't understand who are you having this conversation with? So I went on my journey, which was to do things in a moderate, integrated, but did a lot of building up my body. What do the healthiest people, what do the healthiest people do? You're going to
Right.
hear later. I found myself cancer free again. Now I had already started a business. I was in creating healthy, holistic homes, getting in that and doing some workshops and stuff like that. So now I have it's interesting. The word that came to me was gift. So now I have something where I think I can make a difference. But you know what? Starting your own business is insane.
Yes.
It's
And that's one of the
crazy.
reasons I do this podcast and do coaching for women because it's hard work
Yeah, it's
and you
very
don't realize
structured,
it.
and I'm not structured. So I have a great team around me. My team's been with me 10 or 12 years, but which is why I have somebody like Tina who's there, because somewhere in the middle there is some things that can get done.
Right.
But so here are some defining moments that I have come across in my experience. First of all, people are basically good. Okay.
Absolutely.
In camp, when everybody was away from everybody else. Now I started at 8. I went until I got married. Then I went back when my kids were there. Now my grandchildren are there. But when kids are together without all the bombarding they become brothers, they become sisters, and it's lifetime. I have girlfriends from when I was 8 from
Wow.
camp. Yeah, and I see it with my children and my grandchildren. So now my son, so my children are 54 and 56. My son's in California. His boys go to UT in Austin. This is crazy. Each one of those boys have fraternity brothers from my world. One of them, Noah, has a fraternity brother who is the grandson of one of my best friends from when we were 8 years old in camp.
Wow.
So it's this connection. I'm all about connections.
Yeah,
So
somebody
now,
told me one time I had a crazy connection with someone, and she goes, when you're living your life in alignment to your
Mhm.
true values, those connections appear.
Yes. And not everybody can take that person that does. I've had women
Wow.
say, you scare me. I said, I'm sorry. And I think to myself, you need to get some of these toxins out of your body so you can feel joyful, you know?
Yeah, feel the energy.
So here's what I started to see. Aside from the wonderful way people were living, just from the technologies, whether it's the water we use, the air, any of that. So now I start putting together, because now I'm the counselor, the teacher, right? And I can do it my way. So, so, and I don't mean my way or the highway, I just mean I can create it around
Right.
joy and legacy, because that's what I'm all about, right? So I started to see that as I was working with women, their lives changed, their businesses changed, their careers changed. And it was like, wow, that's kind of really cool. So I was doing it. I mean, I had one woman that came to me to lose weight. We met at a business conference, because at that time I had lost 28 pounds, just trying to eat right and all
Right.
that. And she was a nurse, but she was running her husband's dental office. So now she's a very influential person in the hospice nursing space, because the cleaner your body, the deeper your thoughts.
So true.
When you get rid of all the toxins and the chemicals in your body, it gets rid of all that stuff that clouds us, that makes us feel less than. So I am finding women doing amazing things. And then I decided that from private coaching, which I love, I needed to touch more people. And so now we do it in groups, and it's just amazing. But the cleaner your body, the deeper your thoughts, and hence the greater your impact. And for me, that's what it's all about. I have seen women do less because they feel less than physically. I mean, you heard me say it, and it's true, but it's hard to change the world when you can't even poop, right? But the same when you can't sleep, or when you don't feel it,
Right.
just don't get the stuff done. And sometimes it just means that you're not going to your kid's soccer game, or, whatever that is. So, um, putting that together, and at almost 80, I'm in a 55 and over resort community, and everybody's out doing all these things, and I do them, and I don't deprive myself of anything, but I just love, love, love the women I work with. And then I see what their impact is. And that is, to me, the greatest way to have an impact and to change the world and to have your legacy, because we all have a ripple. They're just all different.
Right. And that ripple effect. And I often wear, and I've got it on today, a starfish necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the story of the starfish?
I
Tracy?
do.
Yeah.
I do.
So, you just never know who that one person you're going to touch and make a
Exactly.
difference, or who that one person that's going to take your life, your business in a totally different trajectory.
Right.
And it's being open to those people, as you said, the energy, the friends, be open to, when people have been introduced to a lot more people recently because of the podcast. People are like, oh, you need to meet this person. You should talk to this person. And I try to have a conversation beforehand and just to see if we have matching energy. Um, this podcast is my baby, and I want to make sure I have the right
Exactly.
people on it. And not just somebody because they wrote a book or they think they've done something amazing, but
Right,
to be
right.
to feel that energy, feel that connection with somebody and make a difference, because you just never know who's listening. I've run into a
Don't
couple
you
of
know?
people, like one person I ran into, she's like, oh, you're Leslie with the podcast. And I'm like, and this was a year or so ago.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, she
yeah,
goes, your sister told me about it and I've been listening to it on the way to work. And I actually, because of listening to it, quit my job and my commute to have a job closer to home because you
yeah.
gave me permission.
That's
So I
wonderful.
love the journey and what you're doing, and I'm bummed I missed the training you did with Tina's group the other day. I need to try to find a recording. But so if you could share, we all know health is important and there's so many different ideas and thoughts, but if somebody wanted to like, okay, what's the first step or the first couple steps to making a difference in your own body,
Yeah.
your own life?
That's a great question. And I don't say that because you're supposed to say that's a great question. Most people don't ask that question. So remember, I'm the dancer and choreographer. I've done much choreography professionally and in schools and stuff like that. But here's the thing. For me, and because I can be so all over the place, I must follow the science. And when we follow the science, there is a platform to stand on and be courageous with. Because, my intention is to help women and everybody create bodies where disease and inflammation and autoimmune can't live. So basically, most of the time, we're filling our bodies with calories, but our cells are starving for nutrients and oxygen. So we've gone to processed foods, we've gone to fad diets. People, listen, I've got all the badges, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystems, Jenny Craig, my mother and I even did the rye bread diet. Could you imagine that?
Haven't heard of that one.
I know. Well, when you're a Jewish committee, it was Jewish rye bread, and you have that with everything,
Right.
So, but understanding that this is not a religious statement, okay? That we are created to be healthy, that God has given us everything that we need. So everything that we do is turning to nature for all solutions, right? And most people, people are dehydrated and all this and that. It's because we are lacking nutrients and oxygen. So when we look at the water we drink or the food that we eat, it must be natural. And I call it eating from God's garden, right? So giving up processed foods. And I'm not about depriving anything. I mean, there's nothing about me that screams deprivation.
Right.
Nothing, right? So it's not about, oh, do I have to give this up? No, like I never care what you're eating as long as you're eating from the right list.
Right.
So for people that are looking just to start, if you can look at things like dairy and sugar and wheat, this is the science behind the cells. Okay, we all hear of, without getting so scientific, but we all hear of free radicals. Everybody hears of free radicals, but nobody knows what it really means. And we're walking around with more damaged cells than we have healthy cells. So everything has energy, that. Everything has a positive and negative charge. So a damaged cell, when we have inflammation, we can't sleep or anything like that, we have too many cells that have lost that negative charge. And that's because we're not eating from the earth anymore, which is, that's in it.
Right.
Turn to whole foods, mostly vegetables, not so much fruit. I call the 80-20, for every fruit you have, which has sugar. Yes, it's natural. I understand. Just be sure that you balance it with like 80% of the other more green and stuff like that. And it's not difficult, but when you can just know that you are feeding your cells, that is the biggest form of self-care, which women don't do enough of. So if you can, I start every day with hot water with lemon. It's a way to honor yourself to begin the day,
Right.
put yourself first, and that brings oxygen and all that to your brain, and you start to feel better. Look at bringing some of the most alkaline, oxygen-rich foods: kale, spinach, celery, avocado,
So
chard, all
all
these.
that stuff is good for you and makes you feel better, but how come, and I don't know if it's just me or other people that, and it may be upbringing too, like you're tired, you're fatigued, you're
Mhm.
stressed, it's the end of the day. I go, I don't, the healthy things, although I feel better after I eat it, that's not what I go to.
Because
I go,
you've gone too far without it.
yeah,
If you're feeling here, if you're feeling tired, listen, you've been coaching women, you know about business, you have businesses. What you do today is a reflection of what you did 90 days before in your
right,
business. How you feel at this very moment is a reflection of what you've put in your body the last 24 hours,
yeah. So just
right?
making, and I know, make those better choices, eat those
So
healthy
if you do
things.
it before, so here's the thing, that's the courage of trusting your soul.
Right.
When you are who you are and you want to be. So in my everything around me has to do with my family. I wear jewelry that was my mother's and my late sister-in-law's, right? I mean, I surround myself. This was my mother's um vanity, her makeup table,
Oh,
right? So yeah, when this goes back to courage. When you understand that eating from God's garden, we have so much beautiful produce. Everybody has such great things. Just do it. I know that we have X amount of time, but you said you feel better. So why not feel better earlier?
yeah. It all makes sense. And I know all that stuff.
Well, so here's a great quote. Um, Knowing and not doing is not knowing.
That's true.
Knowing and not doing is not knowing, right? And then the other quote that I love is from John Wooden, who was the most successful basketball coach in college
Right.
history, is that it's what you learn after you know it all that matters. Let me say
True.
that again. It's what you learn after you know it all that matters. And that's just helping us letting go of things that don't do a service, that don't support us.
You are so right.
And when you're
That-
trusting your soul and you're always there, then it's easier to make better choices
right.
because we are tuned into that soul, who we are, who we want to be, what we want to do all the time. And of course, that has to do with being present all the
Right.
time. I mean, there's a lot we're talking about. I could,
Yes. And I know we could go on. And so it's having that courage to say, why not today? And get rid of the junk in your house. And
so if we could reverse that, if I may,
sure.
bring wonderful things in.
I was about to say, bring good things in.
Yes. So talking about bringing things in, the positive things, rather than I have to get rid of this, I have to get rid of that. So
Right.
what can I bring in today?
Right. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And eat what you love. Eat what you love. Oh, let me just say, so everybody knows, when you are craving sweets, your body is asking for fat.
Really?
So eat some avocado and coconut oil. Right. It's
Hmm.
amazing. Yeah. So yeah, but trust
All
that.
right.
And
Lots we can learn. We could go on and on forever.
yeah, and listen to the wisdom of your body. You said when you're tired, okay, what is it asking for?
Right. I
Yeah.
know yesterday with this time change, I was very tired.
Oh,
I was like, a nap would be good. And I took the dog out I'm like, you know what? We're just going to go all the way around the lake because I'll feel much better.
Did you?
I did.
Of course.
Yeah.
Look at
By
you.
exercising, moving, and being outside and
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
all the things.
You go, girlfriend.
I know all the stuff. So how would you encourage somebody else to start that journey? I know we kind of just talked about that, but encourage somebody to say, why not today, to take their health seriously and take care of themselves.
I would encourage anybody to get out in nature. Let me just say, these decisions are not made in the middle of chaos,
That's true.
right? Unless we are present, we will never make a decision. So you said it, you didn't even know why, but get out in nature. Remember, everything I turned to nature, nature. Get out in nature, walk out for 5 minutes. Just be by yourself. Take a hot bubble bath, whatever it is, just sit, even if you're just sitting quietly and breathing, and you're thinking about who am I? What do I really want? And this has to come first. Otherwise, it's very easy to be distracted. You had a dog that you love that needed to go out. If you hadn't had that, perhaps you wouldn't have gone out.
No, probably not. But
Yeah. So think quietly, find a way to be present, whether it's breathing, whether it's having a cup of hot water with lemon, whether it's walking. I'm telling you, walk out in nature for 5 minutes and you will have a different energy source around you.
yeah, I know that for sure. And I live on a lake, so
Yeah,
water
so do
speaks
I.
to me. So
Exactly.
be able to go out and walk around the
Right.
lake makes such a
Yeah.
difference.
So we have I have a method called Extraordinary Living Made Easy, right? And it's trademarked and all that, but I have like, what are my extraordinary vision? What is and I have all these words, my extraordinary vision, my extraordinary intentions. What are they? Whether you think about them or write them down, for me, I intend to be there for great and all of that, right? So what are your extraordinary visions? What are your extraordinary intentions? And then what are your extraordinary must-haves? Those three things. And life will unfold, it will unveil, and the cleaner your body, the deeper your thoughts, and it'll be like, where did this come from?
Yeah. So much good stuff. I've been taking lots of notes and I'm going to have to listen to this again. And we could go on and on, but I try to limit these so we're not going
Right.
on too long. So I always ask, how did you know my dad or the connection to my dad? And so first I'd say the first thing you mentioned was butterflies, which I feel like that's definitely a connection to my dad. But I know when we were talking to him the other day, you said trying to explain where you lived and you're like, do you know where Berryville is? And I'm like, yeah, that's where my dad is buried. And there's a monastery and it's on the Shenandoah River and it's absolutely beautiful. And you're like, I know where that is. And you had just bought a plot there.
We just did that, right?
Wow. And so that's an amazing connection.
That
So,
was like, oh my God,
because a
right?
lot of people don't know about that place. And it was something that my mom discovered with a friend. And it's funny, a lot of people, my parents' ages now, are buried out. People that have passed away are buried out there.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. And Pat Worth, who is a friend in our community and everything, really, and now she's out here. So she and Jerry and Nevin and I have our anniversaries are like a week apart. So we were
Oh,
out for
that's fun.
dinner and they were telling us, and that's how we found out about it.
Wow.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love going out there and just spending time.
I
So
know.
beautiful out there. So, well, thank you. So if people want to find you, Elaine, where's the best place to find you? And I'm going to share all your contact in the show
Okay.
notes.
renewedlivinginc.com.
Okay. And
renewedlivinginc.com.
that'll be in the show notes too. So
Yeah,
your
right.
website's the best place to find you.
Sure, yeah.
Um,
And or Elaine at renewedlivinginc.com, reach out. And we do a lot more than working with women that have cancer. That's what I specialize in right now, but I've been doing everything for years, no matter what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to get to know you better and work with you and
Me
do some
too.
other
Yay.
things. So, well, thank you for being our guest and for sharing your journey and your courage. And I love just how it goes back to summer camp
It
and
does. Isn't it
so many
wonderful?
things from there. Yeah.
So
So,
let me thank you
oh,
for
you're welcome.
a whole um, group of women that listen to what you do and their stories and having the courage to do something, because your ripple is so huge that you won't even ever really know how far it reaches. You just never know. So thank you for what you do.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And I just feel like, just like you said, in the heart of my heart and my being, that I know this is something bigger than me and we are
Mhm.
making a difference. And so
Yes,
some of the other things I'm doing to make a difference, and like you, I'm very creative and all the ideas. So if anybody's looking for help with feeling a little overwhelmed in the chaos in your life, I've started a course to support women in business with that. Also do some one-on-one coaching, and one of my passions, dreams that I've always talked about with this podcast and working with nonprofits is definitely
Mhm.
something that's near and dear to my heart. And so I'm involved in so many. So I've kicked it off the end of October and for November, that anybody that wants any Why Not Today merchandise, whether it's a t-shirt or a cup or a mug or just a vinyl, 20% of all the sales are going to go to a nonprofit called Spark, which provides places for people with severe disabilities to go
Mhm.
during the day and have activities. So we're going to have another nonprofit every month and be able to give back and share the word. Just say, why not today?
Why
Because
not?
we need to be brave. So thank you, Elaine, for sharing
Thank
your
you so
story.
much. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this inspiring journey. Remember, every day is an opportunity to take action, chase your dreams, and make a difference. So why not today? Make sure you subscribe, share, and review, and just keep pushing forward until next time. Remember, always say, why not today?